see here, we have decided that we'll evaluate relevance, look at impact, we will look at feature creep. Even a small feature can be too big. And we have a bit more on the list. And so the final decision will be a mix of your input and our input, and the criteria will be make something big that's really small.
All right. We're going to go in the order that's on your ballot list, so it's easy for you to follow who's who. We've set aside 6 minutes for each. We're not going to be super strict about it, so if you can show your small feature in less time, that's a good thing. If you go a little bit over time, we'll probably forgive you as well. You can consider that a part of your evaluation too. After each, we'll hear some friendly and constructive and perhaps even funny comments from the jury, perhaps on how to improve the small feature, the relevance of it, the different criteria, and then we'll move on to the next one. So rapid paced, a good way to see some different things. We all work with different tools every day for so many hours, except when we go to conferences. So let's start with the first one, decisions.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Mickey Dickinson. I represent Decisions, which is a small app for Microsoft Teams. And I just wanted to mention that yesterday it was actually awarded the third best overall app at the Ignite conference at Microsoft in Orlando. So, to focus, to try to really narrow it down, this presentation will be about the significant business problem about meetings, particular meetings in large organizations. And I'll focus on this part, creating an agenda, which is a somewhat trivial thing to do, but somehow we often don't do it well. So this is Microsoft Teams. Microsoft calls it the hub for teamwork. So basically what you see, for those of you who don't know Microsoft Teams, you have a list of tools representing the groups of people that you collaborate with. In this case, there's a web department team in the top, and under there are different channels. And one of the challenges is dedicated to meetings in this leadership team. So once you have installed the Decisions app, it will automatically go into your calendar and find the meetings that you have in this particular leadership team and listed here. You can see where we already have agendas ready and where we have some still to be prepared. So the logic in Microsoft Teams is that you can gather the different tools that you need for your work in this particular team and very easily add or extend the platform. For example, finding the Decision app in the App Store. So what is actually pretty neat here is that when you build an agenda for a leadership team meeting, it's often a collaborative effort, and sometimes it takes many emails back and forth to get it right. But I'll show you really quickly how this can be done. So this meeting is already in Outlook, but it doesn't have an agenda. So I click here, I can now start to build the agenda, adding time for each agenda item, uploading information, files and so forth. But you can also cheat, obviously, and use a template which will quickly give you the agenda for the meeting based on what you have previously, the structure that you have previously had in the meeting. And then you can, of course, very easily then edit this and make changes to it, add more items, as I mentioned, and when you feel you're ready to share this with your team, you share it like this. You can send it by email, or you can just update the channel. Please provide your input and notify And then in this, for this meeting, that this leadership team, we have the different tabs on the top here. This one here is called Conversations in the English version. And everybody in the team can now see the proposed agenda for the coming meeting and suggest an agenda item. I will skip that step. And the way it then looks as you are then collecting the input for the meeting, if I take the meeting on the 13th instead, I can then see down here a suggested agenda item. We can collaborate on whether this is actually a good point to take on the agenda or not, and then I can approve and sort it, so enter it here. So a very small, very useful feature for building an agenda for a recurring meeting, and that's actually what I wanted to show.
All right, very good. That was 4.5 minutes. Question. So, it's not really intended as a talk show, but we could perhaps deviate a little bit from the strict, to give the jury some time. Instead of me quizzing Mikkel, how do you think it went? We'll take your question on this occasion, okay?
How to combine it with OneNote, where we take meeting minutes, or how do you intend with this to integrate with meeting minutes and action items?
Yes, it integrates both with Word and OneNote. And actually, the app can read your OneNote minutes and transfer decisions and tasks, digitize them, and for example, automatically send them to Planner, which is a tool in the Microsoft Teams package.
Alright, so if you just move over here, Mikkel, and then you can get the feedback. I think the jury is almost ready. Next, we'll prepare for the next one, something completely different. How do you think it went, Mikkel?
I'm pretty satisfied.
How many people in here speak Danish? Raise your hand. So now you've seen the meeting agenda, building it in a in a language that many of you don't normally use. But I hope you still got the sense. Building agendas, sending comments. I think, raise your hand if building agendas is a problem in your organization. Oh, so there's a problem there to be solved. I think I see now that the jury is more or less ready. All right, you decide who goes first.
Oh, are we actually? I thought we were going to do all of them. And
Yeah, we do all of them.
You do all of them, and then you collect at the end.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
otherwise there's.
I got overruled by the jury. All right, you have to stay with the All right.
It's clear.
All right. Next up is coming from Leipzig, Germany. Christian from X Online is going to show us the problem of editing content, right?
Yeah.
All right. It's all yours.
Alright, thanks. Hi. The more wealthy our society got, the shorter became our workdays. And the productive time of a full-time office employee is even shorter. It's below 3 hours. At least in the UK, where the study is from. But and to save their spare time, we try to focus on the editor while developing our CMS. And our goal was to create a CMS with a modern data structure, which supports multiple languages, channels, and sites, but which is still easy to use with a huge amount of content. In short, we wanted a headless enterprise CMS, which shouldn't feel like one. And today I want to show you our 3 most loved features we have developed with that purpose. Ranked third in our internal vote for this talk is the entry point of our app. A feature-rich search, which enables you to filter down the asset with just a few clicks. Each independent content piece, like a story, an event, an image, or even a tag, is denoted as asset, and with all its translations, it is displayed as a card throughout the app. In this case, the content is already filtered for English stories with the help of my personal presets. So let's look up a story. translated for the market of Great Britain. And that brings us to our second most loved feature, our content editor, whose decoupled view is configurable within the admin tools for each asset type specifically. And that helps to get a better understanding of the content structure, plus it gives us an imagination about how the distributed version of the asset might look like. To avoid the need of obsolete translations while sharing content across markets, we use a local mixing strategy, which always gives you the best fitting relation. So now let's add some content. At first the headline and then some text. Highlight a part of it. Now let's add a service embed, an Instagram post in this case, which is verified and previewed directly. And now we scroll up to the header image, translate it again, and open our grouping mode. And that leads us to our feature number 1 in this context. The feature we throw in for the award here today, because it is small, efficient, and mostly underrated. All our images are responsive out of the box. And with just one click, the editor can set a focus point to the left of the screen. And that point is used to calculate the fitting image section for all predefined ratios. As you can see here, that's the one click where the magic happens. And, yeah. This feature resolves more than 95% of all use cases regarding image cropping, independent from the distribution channel and within less than 5 seconds. And for the remainder, for sure, it's still possible to crop the image for every ratio explicitly within just a few clicks. So, coming to the end, just let's save our image, save our story, and then let's have a look at the preview of how our asset look like on the website. And as you can see, this is quite close to the CMS representation without breaking any principles of a headless architecture. With the shown feature, chain, we achieved to make content creation more intuitive again. That results in minimizing the effort on several levels, but our biggest success is not that one. It is that our support and our editors are happy enough to wear these shirts without forcing them to.
English is from Norway. So thank you very much. It was warming to my heart to see all this good content about Aarhus with a photo from Norway. So while you guys go over here, we can get Jean-Claude ready in the meantime. Anybody else from the audience have a question for clarification? Now that I learned that the jury will go at the end. Anybody wants to ask a question? I can ask first. Is this a familiar problem? Raise your hand. Is this a real problem? It's a real problem. Very good. Like Tim Walter said, I think it starts with understanding the problem, right? That's what you said, right? Pretty much. All right. There was a question from Sam.
When is it open source?
Is it open source?
When?
Oh.
Very good.
It's a software which we have developed
For Red Bull?
Yeah, and not the whole chain is in our hands, so it can't be open source at the moment, but maybe it will be. That's a question.
Keep in touch.
All right, right.
Is that actually auto translation?
Do you do auto translation?
No, it's just copy, and for a lot of languages it's just fine, and then you can change the content.
Yeah,
but if you translate, you see the origin, and you have two windows, the origin and the tool for the translation.
Just a hint for your next feature. Do the auto translate and let the editors do it. I would then you'll have a puzzle.
So while Jean-Claude and the jury is still voting. I was just curious to hear about that Norwegian photo. Like, what were you thinking?
I'm not sure about it. It's the first photo which comes when you.
Oh, that's back to Matthias' keynote from yesterday. Like, is this a cat or is this guacamole? Huh? Is this a goat or is this a gun? That's no, yeah, all right.
Maybe as part of Aarhus is Norwegian. I'm not sure.
I think that's. This is I don't know.
What is it? The opposite way.
All right. On that note, on to something else. Now we will see. I think many of you have seen something like this before, but I think perhaps it's got a little bit forgotten. But I think it's really important. It's also addressing the content creators, the editors. It's the content tree, right?
Yes, thank you, James. So my name is Jean-Claude. I'm from France, but Easy is almost local because we were originally founded in Norway 20 years ago. So thank you for the Scandinavian country that started much earlier before the others. We were probably one of the first CMS on the market under the name of Easy Publish. And now the clients are all over the world because the Scandinavian countries have been growing faster than the others. And so we have expanded to the financial industry, the education industry, the governance space, and also the consumer goods. So when I was listening a couple of years ago to Marissa Mayer at Google, she was explaining everything about search engine in Gmail. And she was saying with a search engine, you don't need to do sections, you don't need to organize your content in folders, and I would completely disagree with that. I think that there is a feature which is a content tree, which has been overlooked by many companies, but which is still really essential when it comes to visualizing the information and to organizing this information. What is this content tree? So this is something that I can show you in a quick demo here. So the content tree is a way to visualize the information, the layout of the information. It's a two-dimension, of course, and it's the most efficient human interface that we have when it comes to interfacing with content. So when it says, when it's missing actually, I have this is the demo of a media website, for example here, with the content tree. This is a demo without the content tree. If you search, for example, for one of the pieces of content in the CMS, you will get the results, but you are still missing a lot of information. What is the coherence of this piece of content? What is the business value? How was it brought here? All this information is missing when you don't have a content tree. And still, many open source solutions, they don't have a content tree today. The reason for that is that many open source solutions are module-centric. Modules are built by the community, whereas Easy is content-centric. The development of the solution is made by a central team out of Poland, and the content-centric, it's also content tree-centric. So what can you do with the content tree? It's really very efficient when it comes to organizing the work or replicating the organization of your company. So if, say, for example, you have one team which is very good at writing content, creating thought leadership, you can create a folder where you will put all the information, all the content items. And if you have another team which is very good at user experience, layout, you can dissociate the organization of the content from the presentation of the content. So one team will populate this folder, and another team will work with a different tool on the layout of the page. For example, here, this title, this publication title, this editorial team can work with a very simple tool, and with this tool, the team will say, please bring it into this landing page, all the content which are article and which you can find in the digital aesthetics folder. So it's a very good way to specialize teams and to optimize, of course, the rendering and the efficiency of your website. But it's also more than that. It's also a way for you to create big and large multi-sites. So for example, if you have a complex organization with lots of brands, lots of countries, lots of languages, lots of business units, you can always create a mirror of this organization into your website. This is, for example, what a large company like Whirlpool has done. So for example, here you have the main site of the main brand, Whirlpool, and then they have generated different variations for Hotpoint, for Bauknecht, for Indesit, always working in 30 different languages, and everything is being managed centrally with this content tree for 30 languages and for the 5 brands. So there is a lot of efficiency here because everybody is using the same back office. So you can save a lot of time to market, efficiency, because the central team can work on the central content. Vice versa, you can give local permissions. So the Bautknecht team only goes to the Bautknecht assets for security, for simplicity. But you also can optimize your SEO, because if, say, for example, the Whirlpool team has written an article which is doing very well in Italy in terms of SEO, everybody in the organization will benefit from this SEO. So the synergies between the brand will show that you don't need to spend so much marketing money, advertising money, because of the synergies on the SEO side. So it's also interesting to see how far you can go in terms of content. So we say usually 1 million is a point where it's quite complex to orchestrate content, but we have clients like the city of Hanover, which is not far from here, so it's a maritime country like Aarhus, it's an Asiatic country. They have over 1 million of content items, and they do it in 18 different languages. So everything here again is managed centrally because of the content tree, and this is something that you can scale even to much larger volumes like that. Another local client not far from here is Matzak, it's a media company, and they have 50 million of such content objects in the content tree. So just to finalize and be winding time, I think that this is a bit overlooked because everybody thinks about it. Still, there are lots of solutions which do not show the content tree. So with this small feature, you can start small, but you can scale in terms of contents, of editors, of brands. So it gives a lot of flexibility, and I think it has a lot of value for the people who are using it.
Thank you. Very well done. So, is this a real problem? Is this an overlooked small feature? What do you think? Content tree? Makes sense? Yeah, Sam?
I would say no.
You say no? The jury is friendly, the audience is not.
It doesn't make sense to me. But for me, the only tree you need is a navigation one.
So navigation tree. And also I saw Rasmus also indicating something. I wasn't sure with the body language.
No, I'm very much against this. I think it's completely the wrong way to go. But I'm sure I understand the I think that's how you build CMS is like 15 years ago.
What is your company? What company do you come from?
Consultancy.
I think in fairness, I think a lot of content authors have been familiar with that for a long time now and expect it. We still see that as a requirement on RFPs, that it has to have a content tree. So whilst I know with headless and things it's not maybe the way that people feel it's going, it is still what people are asking for.
And if you want a tree, we can generate it.
Yeah.
I think there is a difference
They
between
wanted to
what
do,
we
they need it as a question and basic requirements gathering, and they wanted to do, they need it.
Yeah.
I think a tree will always
It's not the same.
Trees always be the most intuitive way of organized content, and pro tree.
Yeah, I think
You're pro tree.
Yeah.
Anybody else here likes trees?
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'll bring you. All right. Thank you very much once again. So next up, from the country formerly known as Holland, it was renamed to the Netherlands. We will see something that I think intentionally misspelled, which has focused on creating content. So,
yeah, so thank you very much. So I think with tools, Kentico Content is also a headless CMS. You saw one headless CMS. I understood that we have a small features award, so I will show a couple of things. But what I also thought it's important that systems actually help you a little bit. And I thought, how can PowerPoint help me to stick in the 6 minutes? It's just by pressing the button and then the presentation goes and it takes 6 minutes. This is a very big challenge, but we'll see how it goes. So Kentico Content, what we say the best way to work with content. Because content management is actually a pretty big problem for a lot of organizations. To work with content. Content management is pretty complicated, and in Kentico Content we try to make it simple. And if you look at how do you create content, well, it's in a sense a matter of working with a content lifecycle where you plan, create, publish, and optimize a couple of things. And I will show that by starting with how do you start the planning of the content. This is Amy. And Amy is going to log in into Kentico Content in the early morning, and she then can see what are the content items that she needs to work on. She sees that she has a couple of things ready to publish that she actually can have a look at, and she can also have a look in the calendar, which we have in the product, where she can look at, okay, what kind of items do we have, what kind of blogs do we have ready. She can actually from the calendar already just open it and get into that specific item. But what she immediately can see is that there is a content item missing in the week. So she actually starts creating a piece of content, and that is where her colleague Bruce actually gets in, because Bruce actually needs to start creating the content. So Bruce also in the early morning starts to work in his content environment. This is where he starts, but then he thinks, well, probably I need to see a little bit what am I going to do today. So he can go to his dashboard and actually sees that there are a couple of things assigned to him, and one of the things is a specific item that Lucy, Amy, I don't know what her name was anymore, actually assigned to him. So he can, from here, he sees that he has only one day to do it, so he actually opens it and already sees that, it was Jeanette, that Jeanette actually already had some tips. And Jeanette actually put some tips in. The nice part is you can click on it and then actually just accept it, the changes as you would expect how it would work in Word. Another thing, what Janet also did, is that she saw that he put some pictures in there, but she has the feeling that this picture is a little bit negative. So he can click on the comment, he can actually get rid of the image, just go very simple to the asset library, pick an image that is a little bit more positive. In this case, he has a really nice positive elderly guy, and actually Bruce is done suggesting the changes that Janet actually did. So really as if you would work in a normal Google Docs or Word document. What he then can do, you already see that he gets mentioned. The nice part is when Janet actually puts a mention in, that he gets a notification that Janet actually has a comment in the content. And when he's ready, he can just mark it as resolved, and the content is done. And what he then does is he can go and publish the piece of content and send it back for review. In this case, I believe it's again to Janet. So Jeanette gets a nice email in her email box with obviously a link to that specific item. She sees it, she opens it, sees that Bruce actually worked on it. She can very easily click on it, open the item, but then the problem always is how do you see what actually Bruce did in this big company. So what in this case Jeanette actually can do is on the right side there's a revision tab. So she can open the revision tab, and then by opening the revision tab she can actually select the box on the top to compare the differences. And then on the right side she just checks Bruce's version, her own draft version that she created, and then with a very simple legend she can actually see what Bruce did. He changed the title here, he actually replaced an image, and actually Jeanette thinks that he did a great job. So now let's assume that Janet also wants to work a little bit on like the quality of the content. So let's assume that she created a blog post, but that she actually wants to know how will that piece of content will actually perform. Did I write it in the right way? So in this case she will open again a blog that she created, and what she now can do is she can scroll down to something what we call content insights, and she can click on the button, and then the system will actually start analyzing the content and actually telling how long the read will be, what are the keywords that but also a bit about the sentiment, what the system picks out of the content. So they actually say, well, it's a bit of a negative article, probably you should change it a little bit, or you actually should, for example, update some words, as you can see here. Well, let's assume that she did it, changed the word, and then she obviously then needs to send it for a final review to Amy. And Amy is the content editor, so she just does the final check before publish. Already sees a typo here, forget all your fears, but it was about the friends. She actually published it, she thinks it's ready, but before she does it, she actually goes to the preview of the website, Safe Life website, and she can hover over the website, and actually if she then sees something which is not correct, she can just click on the specific item, for example retirement, there's a typo, she can click on it, immediately create a new version, change the typo, publish it again, and in this way, even with a headless CMS, she can start working on her website from the start. Then the last part is that Jeanette obviously wants to get a little bit more information. So what organizations are not using Google Analytics? So what actually she did was that she connected Kentico Content, in this case, to Google Analytics. And what it then actually does is it will use the analytics data that are in Google Analytics on the page views, but also around that comes out of Google Analytics you can actually get. You can even have a look at what keywords resonate the best, so she can actually open it. And what the Kentico content also does is that even if you would scroll up, you see a bit of the final analysis on the whole publication that you actually have. And when it will scroll up, you actually will see that in this case we have a blog post that our best author is actually our CEO, and obviously he has the most blog posts done. So this is a way how we believe a couple of small, easy features that can help organizations to work with content. And we believe that in Kentico content, it's the best way to work with content. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You made it. So, questions, comments, reflections, content with a C, content with a K. There was once a very good integrator in Aarhus which had a company called Clean which started with a K. And we have a vendor here also called Gather Content with a C. We can keep going on that as well. Any reflections, thoughts? What do you think about it? Is there room to actually create content in the CMS, which I think is what you're addressing, that so much content is actually not created in the CMS? Yeah, here we go from the official statement now from the Royal Library of Denmark.
I think the analyzed content is one of the small features that's really important that we should stress out.
Analyzed content. Yeah, very true. There's a lot of content out there. Anybody else in here? One more reflection so we give the jury some time. You're coming next for something completely different.
I just wanted to point out that Sam doesn't like the content tree.
Yes. Yes, it seems unfair that only
But I thought we have a forest coming, so we'll see about it.
Could this work in a neutral country?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, please give one. So now we're going to see something completely different. So last demo, as you can already tell by this contest, small feature one, it's at least so far not the jury who are the main characters, unlike the idols where it's really, we don't care about this thing, we all care about the jury. So far all the attention is on the people who are taking the time to prepare the demos, standing up here, trying to fit it right on time. So I think they deserve some credit for that. But as the last thing, what we'll see from UK-based Little Forest is a feature on domain discovery.
Correct. If I can get it to present up there.
That one. All right, please hold. Before you make up your mind who to vote for, please don't fill it out just yet. We will hear from the jury, I think, right? You won't come with a statement.
Maybe technical support.
All right. We will then announce the winner. So we'll go to Frankie's Pizza afterwards, which is on the same street on the back of the museum. It's like less than 100 meters walk, even shorter than.
A little bit more than.
Thank you. 105 perhaps. And then we'll have not traditional Danish food, which we had yesterday, but we'll have food I think that's more eaten in Denmark than traditional Danish food, and that's pizza. Different pizzas have been ordered, and you can also get drinks. And then we will count the votes, we will weigh them together with the jury votes, and then we will announce the winner, which will get the diploma, we'll do the photos, and then all of you are of course invited to the dinner, of course, as a part of the conference. At 9:30 we are invited to live music right back on the other side of the museum, about 100 meters in the other direction, where they have a talent night for young upcoming musicians. That's starting earlier, and then they have said that the best ones get to play for us, and they're really looking forward to an international audience. So I think with all of that, it's up to you, Gavin.
Thanks, Alan. Hi, I'm Gavin from Little Forest. So we do web digital governance. Our small feature today is actually domain auditing. So we do, everyone here now has, even if you've got a small to medium-sized organization, you will find that you have what we could call digital exhaust, I think was the word we talked about this morning, or also basically digital litter. So you could look at any organization and you will find, if you look at their main domain, if you look at the registrant information on that domain, you will find other domains that they own, that you forgot about, that you bought 3, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And then what we do is, so we'll do this, and then we'll look quickly at each of those domains, and we'll go through the subdomains as well. And what you find is that very quickly, you get a situation where your brand is maybe not being reflected in the same way that you would like, and you find some fun things. We particularly have done this with some larger organizations who are beginning to really see the pain because they're much bigger. But basically there's kind of 2 types of domain. We'll quickly look at it. So that is a horizontal audit. So Google, as you know, own things like Gmail and YouTube. But then you can drill in onto google.com itself. So what you do here is vertical and horizontal. So we started working about 18 months ago with the University of Edinburgh. They contacted us and said, let's look at this audit that we need to do, because they know being a university, they have lots of colleges and so forth. And they started out, and together we identified 14,000 websites. Yeah. So there are hundreds of CMS systems behind those 14,000 websites. Obviously that's a few too many websites for anybody. And we then worked with them, they mainly did this, but they created a registry. So that's a central registry, we've got right down to a tiny number of 1,497 websites. The nice thing then about this web registry, this one here, we can click in there and simply have a look at those, but they have managed to then identify the CMS that it's running on. So could it be something like Drupal or WordPress? Is it compliant with the regulations in terms of security, privacy, accessibility? And then also within that, so business areas. So top level business area, secondary business area, and then who is the named owner? So this person, let's say from the privacy perspective, this person is then responsible for that website. And as I said, and the same thing with the accessibility policy, etc., data protection. And what you can see then, and this is my favorite moment when we kind of first do an audit. So the audit takes about, the initial one will take about half an hour to run. So we just get all the information and it just runs, and then bam, you get this nice fun list. And this is the best moment, is you're going through and looking, I'll just stop on this one. Are these kind of good websites for the organization? So I kind of challenge you, come up to me, we'll run one of these for you. I can't do it now because it takes like half an hour. I'm not going to have you sit there and do that. But just see how many you have within your organization. And yeah, that's it actually. You can search and filter and find out more, and we run then deeper reports into each of these. But I think in order to actually get governance, you have to start to understand how big is the issue, and then how to solve these things, and then drill into the depth, like security and accessibility. So that's me.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Domain discovery as an important but small feature is a real problem. Yeah. All right. Any comments, reflection? Gavin has run away, but we'll hear it. Are you ready, Gavin, for some questions?
Explain the emails of the domain owners in violation of the GDPR.
I do have permission from them to show.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of
we'll blur it out. Exactly. Any other?
That is an interesting one, Tim, actually, and I agree with that. But also, so we do audit and show what email addresses are on websites. I'm kind of wondering, is that a GDPR issue as well?
Yeah.
The fact that we're reporting on them, it's kind of, probably. Probably. It's public information, right?
I do. The university.
You need to know what they are.
All right. GDPR, let's put that back in the box. Anybody else on domain discovery? Reflections, comments, observations? Yeah, anybody? What did you think? Yeah? As the CIO of a large company, is this a real problem?
It is.
Definitely a real problem.
Even if we have that all our sources, but it is a problem. Yes,
it's a real problem. All right. Anybody else? Yes.
It is a problem for a small Danish library as well.
For a royal library as well. All right. Fair enough. All right. The problem's real. And before you make up your mind, I think you all have the voting ballots. I think now is the time where you have graded the papers. So I'll leave it in your hands.
How many can we fill?
Yeah, you want to get them on stage? All right, let's bring them back. All of them, yes. Bring them back on stage. The brave souls. Let's give them all a warm round of applause. Less than 6 minutes, give or take, around 100 meters, the same kind of story. Live demos on a Wednesday evening in the beginning of November in the Women's Museum. Very well done. That's my view, but I'm not on the jury, so let's hear it from the jury.
So if I'm allowed to start, okay, so I'll ask the first contestant here. I was wondering, the agenda feature is really smart, but I would think if I had less information on the screen, I could actually use that feature faster. Have you had any consideration, to make it even smaller?
It actually also runs on you can access the agenda information via a browser. And you can actually go around Microsoft Teams if you...
Yeah, but when you look at the interface, you get the suggested agenda. Then you have the headline for each item, but you also have a lot of content. And if you look at that on the smartphone, you just want all the headlines. You don't want all the sub-content because why?
Yeah, that is a challenge, and it is accessible on the phone. That's a good point.
I guess my feedback on that one is it's called decisions, but we weren't able to see how you use it to mark a decision. I would have liked to have seen a bit more around how you track ad hoc decisions made in the meeting.
Yes, that's actually a brilliant part. I'll come back next year.
I'm just curious about the task and what does that look like? Because I know based on some of the conversations we've been having about meetings, one of the biggest things is actually being able to
track.
What's the action and track it and,
yes.
and look what that
So I was trying to explain before, if you can actually choose to make the minutes of meeting in either Word or OneNote, and if you write a task, colon, it will recognize names and they will create a task in Planner with a assigned responsible and a date possibly, or you can add that later, and you can then manage that in Planner, which is the Microsoft equivalent to Trello tool.
I kind of wonder if you could use it to optimize the meeting better. So a guy I know, every single meeting he has, he keeps it like just a tracker of how long the meeting lasted, who organised it, whether it was him or the other person who kind of initiated it, and then how we felt at the end of it and did anything actually happen as a result. And he's been using that for about 2 years to kind of go, right, so if I have a meeting over an hour, we're less likely to do anything. So he's been kind of optimising his meeting over time, and I just wonder if for version 5, if there was a way of saying, any meeting with over 6 agenda items doesn't result in that, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
How do we use that information and that data to actually make ourselves a little bit more focused?
Yeah. They are looking into a lot of intelligence on the information generated in the meeting. On the time part, they have a small time tracker. I couldn't show that, but as you started, it shows how you progress in the meeting, encouraging people to rush on. As you can see now, you actually spend 10 minutes.
So next year we want to see some gamification on that, so you get a reward if you finish the meeting on time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right. Next one?
The next one was exit online.
That was actually 3 features.
Right.
Yeah.
But the last one was the one we
And that's the one that we talked about.
Yeah. We will forget about the 2 first.
Yeah. So I think what we agreed was we really did love the simplified image cropping. Certainly, it's a hassle for a lot of people when it comes to images,
And to your point about reducing the tickets, I think you're bang on there, but like the first question was, why do we see 3? When it's a small feature, we want to see like the best ever. So.
Because in the text, in the description, there was live features.
Yeah.
And because
the
feature is so fast.
I don't like where this is going.
Feature creep the feature war.
And we would actually say that the challenge was to put as many small features as you can.
Alright, fine. It's not your turn yet.
But what I really liked about that example, as well as it just like actually that simplified cropping was a really nice feature, was when we build systems, and we particularly if we're purchasing them for our organisation, we often overlook the importance of back-end user experience and editor user experience. And I know certainly a lot of the organisations that I work with, they focus a lot on how it looks for the customer or their internal customer. But if back-end systems are clunky and hard to use, then the editor will often find themselves frustrated, they will maybe cut corners, they'll stop using metadata or not copying images correctly. So by making that a really good experience, it's got a great impact on the actual end users in terms of actually having governance that's fully operationalised and used, and results in us being able to have better content and better sites at the end. So I was really pleased to see back-end getting a bit of love from that, and it was a really nice feature.
And the other 2 features, they were not bad.
Just so you know, yeah.
Alright, so then Jean-Claude from BC.
I think what I noted was the fact that, I mean, it's always great. You work with very large companies that have a lot of these problems. So being able to visualize it and have that flexibility is great. And I think we all agree that was one of the best things that we saw about your feature. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, it was nice to see that there were ways of kind of simplifying kind of permissioning and all that sort of thing, and having those tools to manage complex web estates. I wasn't clear if it was a small feature or just what product is then. So.
Oh, well, I think it
essence
was
as a broader product rather than being a feature in and of itself.
Yeah, I think it's a bit overlooked sometimes. It's like in the background, or sometimes it just doesn't exist and people do without it. So, but I think it's a human interface. It's the way we visualize. We use our senses, and I love the reaction because there was a lot of passion in this. And I'm not going to try to convince my friend because I'm sure that he has his own opinion. That we have what we are saying that this needs to be there. We also love the other ways of visualizing information with the search engines. But everybody needs to be comfortable with the way they interact with information. And this is one that lots of people like, because there was Windows Explorer, there were lots of people that were used to that, so we just need to keep it and make it simple for the people who want to have it. So that's why it's still there, and it's at the center of a lot of other things as well.
One thing that's really interesting with presenting the content tree is like, it's kind of a religion, whether you want it or not. And it reminds me when we started building the first websites back in the 90s, there were lots of people that would say, well, a website should be like a file card from a file cabinet, so it has a fixed size. So we called them the card sharks. And then others, they believed that scrolling was better, so that was the holy scrollers. And we also have the religions here, whether you need the content tree or not.
Yeah, so we don't have a religion, we just try to offer different ways.
Very nice. Thank you. And Bob, we already heard your feedback, so we
I think the one thing that stood out for us was being able to assess how great your content is while you're in the editor. And out of all of the features that you shared with us, that was the one that kind of stood out to us for the win from a content creator perspective.
One thing that's interesting with that feature is that it's one click and it gives you vital information about the content that is often missing in other systems. And now, if you should apply another feature in your software that is just nice that way, the one click, what would you do then?
I think we call that a custom element. So in fact, what you do, this is a service. So you connect to a service that assesses the content. So I would think that the next feature that we will put in the product is the focal cropping feature, for example, which is the same thing. You put it in as a specific functionality, and then with one click you can do the focal cropping, what you've built in. So actually you tailor your CMS much more to what, if for somebody like image cropping is important, you put that in. If content analyzer, you put that in. So you can really like tailor the whole content management experience for every individual role. So that's
Do
a
you have
feature.
any information about how often it's used, that feature?
Well, I think a lot. But what we have, and that's something we don't like show. We have what we call, in a sense, a gallery of services that you can connect in, that you bring into your CMS. So in the past, you put it all in your product, but now these services are out there. They're great. They are specializing in one thing. So what we in fact do is bring it in. So there's a whole gallery with things like this, and content analyzer is one of the things that is overly popular.
And what I liked about that one is being able to give the content owner kind of actionable insights. So rather than in terms of how they can improve their content before they publish it, but also looking at some of the Google Analytics so people can do that continuous improvement in a way that's quite easy to digest for someone who may not be in like a data focused process.
And I think also it's not so difficult to put the analyzing in, but the fact that if they click on a keyword, what you saw, that then they actually get into the content, change it so that it also really helps the content. That's obviously that. Alright, we should emphasize it more.
Last but not least,
Right.
domain discovery.
So Jan said that every time I come to the Boye conference, I buy a new domain. So this one kind of spoke to me. What was it with Kristen? I can't pronounce it, but what was it?
Collaborokey is with
No,
me.
we got Collaborokey last year before last, which was like a collaboration karaoke concept. And then last year, Christian got me, helped me register one which is like a long German compound word for the feeling of relief when a domain that you have bought expires.
Domain-Erneuerungserleichterung.
Do that again, sorry?
There you go. Domain-Erneuerungserleichterung.
Which would be a graveyard of all of the domains that I've unwisely bought after a few drinks. So actually this would be personally a really useful product. But actually we were talking about, I actually really like that as a problem that large corporates and complex web estates have historically. And I think about some of the clients that I work with where they don't even know what they have, and thinking about some of the business impact of, you know, you're probably paying licensing on multiple on CMSs that, or a site that was well-intentioned but no one's touched in years that people have forgotten about, and actually being able to de-risk, being able to manage some of your costs, and frankly, we don't retire enough stuff and shut down things that are past their time, and I like to be able to visualize that. I quite liked, I noticed on the right that you could put an action against it, which is like recommend foreclosure. Actually, I think that was quite a nice feature, and not just for my own personal inventory of domains. But I thought it was a nice product.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Anybody else over there from the jury?
I think the other thing was it felt, it did feel very intuitive in terms of what would you do next once you, so as that small feature piece, it was clearly, it had one job, that's what you do with it, and it will solve the problem, so, yeah.
All right, good.
And I would say I really like the tool. Next year I will work on the user interface, but it doesn't take anything out of the great feature.
All right. Thank you. So I know all day you have filled out these. Now you have to fill out one like this. This is how they look when they're empty.
Just one, Janus.
And then one of these. And then hand them in at the end as you leave, and then we will count them, and the jury's votes count 100.